Hey everyone, Ed Helms here. You might know me as Andy from The Office or Stu from The Hangover, or you might know me as the co-founder of BGS. I know, I'm just as surprised as you. They let me co-found something. But here's the thing, we're doing it again. Yeah, this time we're leaping into our other deep love, the vast and vibrant world of country music, with something we're calling Good Country. Now, this isn't just another newsletter. Think of Good Country as a place. A place where you can explore, learn, and dig into all of what makes country good. Seriously, country music has so much going on these days, and it's coming from so many different deep and soulful places, and we're here to cover all of it, just as we've done for bluegrass and roots music at BGS for over a decade. So sign up now at goodcountrybgs.substack.com and let us bring you the many sides of country music straight to your inbox. Good Country. It's a nice place to be.
Hey, it's Cindy Howes from the podcast Basic Folk, where we have honest conversations with folk musicians. Check out our very special 250th episode featuring an interview and performance with Basic Folk co-host Lizzie No.
I feel like most women I know have an experience where they've been working to perform and to execute and to please everyone else. And then things sort of fall apart a little bit in some way or another. And partying can actually be a really important step towards getting free, because it shows you where you need to fall apart, and being on the dance floor, like in community with other women and in community with queer people. Like for me, those experiences have been so important.
This time, Lizzie is on the other side of the mic talking about and performing songs from their brand new album, Halfsies. Basic Folk's 250th episode with Lizzie No is streaming now on the Bluegrass Situation Podcast Network. Join us there or wherever you get podcasts. Hi, and welcome to Basic Folk, where we have honest conversations with folk musicians on the Bluegrass Situation Podcast Network. It's me, Cindy Howes, the host of this folk podcast that you've chosen to have enter your ear holes today. Thank you for joining us. I am thrilled to be speaking to singer-songwriter Hannah Connolly today. I met her February 2020 in New Orleans. That is where a big folk conference was happening, Folk Alliance. You may be familiar with it or have attended it previously, but we have stayed in touch since then. I think she's a really special artist, and I am very happy that we got to do this interview together. Before we get into Hannah, let's talk about some ways that you can support Basic Folk. We are listener-supported, so people give us $5, $10 a month so that we can continue to operate. Everything that we do made possible by your monthly contributions. You can make a donation if you'd like at basicfolk.com/donate. You can also go to the store and get a Basic Folk beanie that's handmade by my mom. She'll actually write you a little note and mail it to you. It's very adorable. You can find links in the show notes to make a contribution. And thank you so much if that's something that you can do. If you are not in the position, that's okay. Very happy to have you listening to Basic Folk. You can share this episode with a friend. You can also sign up for our monthly newsletter. There is a link in the show notes for that, or you can go to our website, basicfolk.com. That's the absolute best way to keep updated on what's happening with the podcast. We let you know what episodes are coming up, our thoughts and feelings about everything that's happening. It's a good time. You can also follow us on social media. We are at Basic Folk Pod on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're also on YouTube. Keep up with us there if you're a YouTuber. Telling friends is a huge way to spread the word about Basic Folk, and much appreciated. All right, let's get into singer-songwriter Hannah Connolly. Originally from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, same as Justin Vernon and the Bon Iver crew, Hannah has just released her second solo album, Shadowboxing. Written to reflect musical and life transitions, it was recorded in beautiful Idyllwild, California, just outside of her new hometown of Los Angeles. While in the mountain town, Hannah reconnected with nature through hiking and found joy in connecting with her friends and collaborators in music. The process of making the record was crucial for her mental health in music that was celebratory and fun. Her debut album centered around the trauma and healing she and her family faced after her little brother Cullen was killed by a drunk driver in 2015. Born with Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy, Cullen was the life of the party and a bright light in every room he entered. Being able to process and mourn his loss through the making of her first record was not only extremely difficult, but also very necessary for Hannah. We talk about who Cullen was and how he continues to influence Hannah's life and music. These days, Hannah is looking for the fun and lightness again, which is exactly what her little brother would want her to do. Even though Hannah's visual storytelling and folky roots are strong, they are no match for her love of emo music, which has influenced her since she was a teenager. She even performed, recorded, and toured in an emo band prior to going solo. Hannah gets into her emo past, her childhood stint in musical theater, and of course, cheese curds. She also gives us the all-important update on wedding planning. She recently got engaged to Eric Kanata of the alternative rock band Young the Giant. I am so happy for Hannah, not only for her future marriage, but for also creating this joyful new album, Shadowboxing. We're going to take a listen to a clip from the new record, Bags Are Packed, and then we will get to our conversation with Hannah Connolly on Basic Folk.
Waking up lately, losing time, counting the hours down to 5, constantly keeping score. Thought that I wanted more. The world has been heavy on my mind. I'm gonna stay up, no matter what the sun will be bringing. I'm gonna stay up with you. All I know, so much freedom right outside that door. All I know, my bags are packed and I'm ready to go. My bags are packed and I'm ready to go.
Hannah, thanks for talking to me today on Basic Folk. So nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's talk about music in Wisconsin. You're originally from the state of Wisconsin, and you grew up the oldest of 3 kids. You moved around a bit, but you spent most of your childhood in Eau Claire, which is a riverside city that is known for its arts and music scenes. And we cannot mention Eau Claire without saying it's the hometown of Justin Vernon and the Bon Iver crew. And it sounds like thanks to your town and thanks to your family, you were around music and art quite a bit. How do you think the way that your family treated the arts has impacted the way you come to appreciate them as an adult?
I would say my dad, his deep love of music definitely sparked an interest for me early on. I really remember we would go to the public library a lot and be allowed to each check out a few things. And I remember my dad would go straight to the CD section and just spend the whole time kind of in there looking for, cool, weird things that he hadn't heard before, obscure kind of records and things like that maybe didn't capture his attention when he was younger. And I just thought that was cool that he was always trying to find new things to discover. And I think that his love of music and love of building a collection kind of got me intrigued into what is this world that my dad's diving into. So
is he still like that with music discovery?
I think so, yeah. I think it's different now, and we don't go to the library anymore. He's more so in a digital way, like discovering new things, and he'll send me records to check out and things like that. But yeah, it's less physical, like tangible objects than it used to be.
But man, the library's still cool. That's good. Instilled a love of the library. My friend just got a director job at her local library, so she's like all about it. So you can tell your dad,
awesome.
Good job. Yeah.
Nice.
A little bit more about your dad. He was a delivery man for UPS, and he is now retired. But in his spare time, he would play music, sculpt, and paint. He got a guitar, which you stole for a little while so you could write songs. What is your relationship like with your dad when it comes to your creative expression?
That's a really good question. I think I've always been inspired by the fact that even though my dad drove for UPS for 25 years and like really he didn't get a chance to pursue like an artist's path, but he still maintained like an artist's perspective and mindset in the way that he's always kind of looking through the world and through like a poetic lens and finding, you know, he'll even just like him and my mom. Well, my mom also, I feel like, you know, looks at the world in that way. They share that, but like they'll go out on a hike and my dad will just pick up a cool rock and just sit and like reflect on it. And I think that is something that has kind of inspired the way that I've kind of operated or like gone through the world too, is just to see how, you know, he's retired now and he's started to pick up woodworking and kind of like revisit some of these creative outlets that he set aside for a while. But even looking at like family pictures and stuff when we were kids, like my dad would, you know, take old film photos and, you know, it's just always like part of how he lived. So I thought that was cool.
Cool. Sounds like a cool guy.
Yeah.
Fun to hang out with. Okay. Musical theater, your first entry point into the world of music. So your mom signed you up for community theater. You did Annie. You were not Annie. You were a little orphan.
Annie.
You were a little orphan child. You also did Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. What an experience. You joined choir, learned some music theory, and you also just loved singing. I feel like you are pretty outgoing, easy to get along with. You love to perform, but I feel like you're also like introverted. So how do you relate to that like outgoing version of yourself? Like especially that like younger outgoing version of yourself that loved to sing and loved to act?
That's such an like intuitive question. I feel like the fact that you even like pick up on the fact that I'm like secretly very introverted, or maybe not so secretly, but that I'm much more introverted is pretty cool. But I think about that a lot lately, especially as I've like been, you know, in my like late 20s, so like early 30s, just being like, who was that person? And like, how was she so outgoing and out there, and when did it change and why did it change? And I haven't come to any like concrete answers. I know there was a big shift when I lost my brother. I think that like really changed a lot about like for a while, like especially how I was able to socialize and like interact with people in the world. But you know, I think that there is part of me that still can kind of like access that more outgoing, like less self-conscious, more like confident and like just, I don't know, sparkly person that maybe I was when I was younger. But it is more like in pockets. Sometimes I feel it come out on stage, like especially with this new album. That's been something that's been really fun, is like there are some songs where it's more in that energy space and it's really fun to access. Like, and kind of just, I've been really thinking about the last few years, like how to try and bring back that like playful, more lighthearted person that I kind of had more access to when I was younger.
Oh my gosh, so much to talk about. Okay. So
Sorry, really went in on that one.
no, it's like I'm like 75 questions I want to ask you. So let's talk about Cullen, because your first album, From Where You Are, was like your reaction to this enormous loss that your family experienced with your brother, and you've shared some pictures and videos of Cullen. And when you talk about like playfulness and being silly and stuff, it seems like he was such a fun person and so silly. So I'd love to hear you talk about him and how you remember him best.
Oh yeah, Cullen is just like the life of the party, you know. Like when he was my youngest brother, but he was born with Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy, which is a degenerative muscle disorder. So he, when he was very young, was able to walk, and then slowly lost his ability to walk and ended up being in a power wheelchair for a long time. But he just had this like relentless positivity, that this like just relentless joy that was contagious. And I think when people were around him, it was just, I remember getting messages from people that were just like, I remember this one moment that I shared with your brother, and it stayed with me for years. You know, he was just that kind of person where, I just his laugh. He was always cracking jokes and getting people to take themselves less seriously, and just always looking forward to something too. Like I remember like as a family, we'd do something like super fun that he'd been looking forward to for months. We'd be like, and now what? Like, what are we doing tomorrow? You know, it's kind of just like always on to the next thing, but in the best way. So, yeah.
It's funny, like looking at his pictures and watching the videos that you post of him. It feels like you just get such a sense of like what a joyful person he was.
Yeah, definitely.
So in writing your first record, it was really difficult for you to process the emotions and to write so personally. And I read that writing that record took a toll on your mental health. How do you think that experience helped change the way you write? It seems like something like that would just like crack you wide open.
Yeah, I think that's a really beautiful metaphor for it. And it definitely fits with my experience of it. I had a really hard time writing that album. I'm really glad that I did it. And I think that I know that I needed to do it, but it was really difficult because I had so much fear about getting it wrong or having people misunderstand it, or, just putting something down and sharing it with people in general about something that is so personal.
Yeah.
I think I really owe a lot of like thanks, and I have so much gratitude to my friend and co-writer on that album, Jordan Ruiz, because he really helped me like come to terms, or like how to be like really comfortable with saying what I needed to say on that album, and writing what I needed to write, even when I was scared, or even when I was like afraid to access some of those feelings, or I had already started to, but I didn't finish it because of, one reason or another. And he was just a really good friend and support system, like in kind of like going through that process.
So thank you for talking about this. You have gotten more comfortable talking about it over the years, and people who have also experienced huge loss have discovered and connected with your music. So after you made this record in 2020, what was your headspace about like being so public with your grief in your songs, and possibly having to like talk about what happened to Cullen? Like, how did you learn to take care of this like really sacred, private terrible thing that happened to you and take care of yourself in that time?
I think it was a weird experience because I went through the whole process. I did a crowdfunding thing to be able to afford to make the record, and being able, like, sharing with that small group of people, which was a lot of friends and family and things like that, people who had known me, like, the kind of experience of making the record was one thing, but then once it was done and I was sharing it with like a broader group of people, it felt like another thing. And in some ways, like, the fact that the album came out in 2020 was, I don't know, I don't know quite how I see it, but in some ways I think that maybe the timing was like just right, because there was so much going on in the world that I did not need to really, I didn't tour the album. I didn't do a ton of like interviews and stuff. Maybe there was like a handful, but it wasn't something that I needed to talk about that much. And I could kind of just like put the record out there and let it be like received in some ways. So I think that now that things are open up again and I'm starting to like play more like tours and things like that, I think it's really nice to be able to have both that record and the next record that came after it to share together, because it's not only the heaviest of the stuff. And, you know, I tried to touch on some of the lighter things like remembering my brother and stuff in that record. But for the most part, it is not, you know, it is pretty like heavy thematically, you know? So to be able to play a show where it's not just that, I think is nice as well.
Yeah. I was thinking about the fact that you released it and it was like right the second the pandemic started, and you just kind of, it almost seems like, I don't want to say gift, but like, it almost seems like a little bit of a silver lining that you could kind of sit with this record for a couple of years and sit with the songs that you wrote and then do it your own way. I wonder, like, processing your grief through writing and recording from where you are, like, how did that impact your relationship with music?
It made me think about it a lot. I think I was asking myself when I was hitting like the hardest parts of making that record, like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I putting myself through this process? And I like knew it was just something that I needed to do for myself. Like it just felt like it was like energy that like needed to move and like needed to like go somewhere.
Cool.
And that was the most accessible thing that I had, was like music, to like get it out there off my chest, like, you know. And I think about now this new record, like Shadowboxing, the whole process of writing that was like, I still feel like I want to write and make music. And now it's like leaning into like the fun of it, like doing it just for fun, and like kind of rediscovering the joy of like making music just to make music. And I think the juxtaposition of both of those things has made me have an appreciation for both, and like the value that they both have in like the creation of music and records. The stuff you have to write and the stuff that you just want to write for fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. All right. So yeah, the new record Shadowboxing is a lighter experience. There is joy and fun on the record, and there was joy and fun in the process of making it. So how have you been able to give yourself permission to have fun and be joyful with this music?
Yeah, I think the way that we recorded this album was also like a big part of what made it so fun. Like we did it in Idyllwild at my friend's studio, and like five of us went up there, and we were just like hanging for the week, and we had all these songs that we like practiced and played in the room. And it was just super fun to just be like out in the woods. Like it felt like, camp or like a mini like vacation. I don't know. We're just like waking up, going to get coffee, and then like hanging out and playing music all day in the live room and capturing like what we were messing with. So the collaboration behind it, I think, really helped like bring out the fun in it, because it was kind of just like a big hang, and being around those people, like being around my friends and stuff while we were working on it, definitely like brought up the fun in a really tangible way.
You talked about this a little bit, but I'd love to hear more. So like, it's I think it's somebody wrote this great sentence, and I am unsure if it was another publication or if it was from your bio, that the new songs forge a path towards the healing light, offering songs that embrace life, friendship, travel, and adventure. What was it like for you to write these songs, and how did it change the way you relate to your writing?
I think it changed the way that that's a really good question. I'm thinking on it.
Take your time.
Thanks. I think well, Jordan, who produced From Where You Are, we co-wrote the songs on this album. And so I think that it was fun to just sit down and have fun as we were writing and just like explore. And I had kind of a lot of like random lyrics and melodies and stuff like that. And he'd throw in like a guitar part, and it kind of just like freestyle stuff over the top of it. And I think in that way, it was a fun new way of writing that was less intentional about like, okay, here's what I need to say, and like, how do I find like a container for that? And then for this song, it was like, let's just kind of like go with the flow and see what comes out, and like pick the things we like and go in on them further.
Cool. I also heard that you're a prolific writer, and maybe always have been. Have you always been that way? And like, do you find it hard to keep up with your own brain in terms of like trying to get it all down, get all the ideas out?
That's a very nice and generous word. I would like to think I'm prolific. I think that was from my bio, and I was like, oh, that's nice when I saw it written in there. But I don't know. I think there probably are people that are more prolific than me. But I do like, I would say almost every day I'm like writing down some like little bit of idea that I come across, whether it's like a lyric or a melody or like a concept for a song. And my voice notes and my notes app on my phone are definitely a mess. So when it comes to like, I find myself like when I'm ready to like sit down and like fully write a song end to end, I'm like digging through kind of an unorganized mishmash of like
you need an
little
archivist.
bits and pieces. Yeah. I like definitely need some kind of system. So I think I'm trying to get better at channeling all those ideas in a more like practiced way, but it is sometimes fun because I do like going back through something and being like, I don't even remember writing this, but I like it and I want to use it, you know. And just kind of like there are things where I'll find a voice note from like I found a voice note once that I like did in the middle of the night where like I woke up and I was like, oh, like I gotta capture this idea, and then I like the next morning was like, what is this? Like when did I had no recollection of like even making the voice note. But I was like, this is pretty cool. I might finish this out. So
right.
I don't know.
That happens to me sometimes. Not that I'm a writer, but like I'm like very organized. That's one of my talents. And
Nice.
I will like find something that I'll freak out about and be like, oh no, it's not organized. And then I find it's like, you know, you find the voice note, you're like, what is this? And then you're like, oh, thanks, past self.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah. Little treasure hunt.
Yeah, totally. But it's fun, especially if you can do it in the California woods, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. you have talked about how you take Cullen with you everywhere you go, including these new songs, I would assume. So, like, where is Cullen on this record?
I think Bags Are Packed what comes to mind, honestly, because like so much of like when I am feeling connected to my brother is like in places in nature. And like, although that song maybe it has like a broader meaning too, like when I think about that song, I think about nature. And so that one definitely comes to mind. Rushing By, the last song, isn't really about Cullen, but it is tied to From Where You Are. I think one more abstract way is that just that I know that my brother wants me to be happy. And I think like, you know, the process of writing this album was like kind of a process of being like, what's it like to make music just to have fun? What's it like to kind of like channel that younger, like more whatever vibrant version of myself on stage? And like, I know that that side of myself is something that Cullen always loved to see me like find. Like when he and my parents would come to shows and stuff, he was just always like such a supporter of my music in like such a sweet way, kind of just like always cheering me on, you know? And so when I think of like some of those moments where I really let myself like get into it on stage or kind of like let loose a little bit, I feel like he would be like stoked to see me doing that. So I guess that's kind of how.
Yeah. Oh, I love that answer. Thank you so much for talking about that. So now I want to talk about the woods. You made Shadowboxing with a group of close friends in Idyllwild, California, which is a forest town outside of Los Angeles, and perhaps the site of my next vacation. It looks so great. Like the videos
Yes.
and all the pictures, your videos that you made in Idyllwild, so amazing. So can you talk more about how this place impacted you?
Yeah. I think it was just kind of like such a cozy escape to like get to. I grew up in Wisconsin and moving to LA, it's a big change. And I think sometimes being able to make music out there, it feels like a little more like home kind of. It feels more like you can kind of let your shoulders down a little bit, can kind of like breathe a little deeper and like,
Yeah.
it's just it's like a good place to be. And it, my friend John is the reason that we went up to Idyllwild. So John O'Brien, he engineered on parts of From Where You Are. And then he and his family moved out to Idyllwild during the pandemic and started this studio. And so that was kind of the impetus for us going up there, and really how I discovered like how much I liked Idyllwild was through his studio. So it's been just like a fun place to go. We just went up there again this like last weekend, and like just the drive up, you're like, like I just feel my blood pressure dropping.
Yeah. Amazing.
And part of me is also just like, I hope it stays the way that it is, because it's kind of just this little, there's not like, it's all mom and pop shops and stuff like that. And
nice.
I hope that it stays sweet, as more and more people like come to find about it and love it.
Well, anyone listening, don't ever go there.
You can go there. Just be nice.
Stay home.
And cool.
Oh, yeah. Either be nice or stay home.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question about doing nothing that I was thinking about when listening to Stuck in a Place and reading about it. So the song Stuck in a Place is about learning to take things as they come and live in the moment, the kind of like pushing back on the idea that life is linear. We should always be moving forward, progressing. I've been thinking about that so much recently. Like I'm trying to get my to-do lists done but I also just like want to mess around and do nothing. So how do you feel about giving yourself time for nothing? And did this song help you work anything out? Usually the answer is no to that, but I would love to hear it.
I appreciate that you already like planted that in there, because I would say the answer is like kind of no, but not completely no. You know, I think in some ways, like I felt like this song was a little bit more like even kind of like big picture about like, oh, like I feel like I wanted to be at this place by this time, or I had hoped to like, you know, get somewhere, and then just realizing that the whole point of it is like, oh, it's so cliche, but whatever. Like the whole point of it is like the journey, as Miley Cyrus would say, it's the climb. But
Right.
like it's just like how do I, like, you know, maybe I am stuck, maybe I haven't been able to get to like that next whatever place, but it doesn't mean that it can't be like fun or like, you know, enjoyable, still stuck, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I also, Bags Are Packed kind of has like a similar vibe to Stuck in a Place, but it seems like you're having an easier time doing nothing and enjoying friends in the woods.
Yeah, I was listening back to that one too the other day, and I realized like all the like, you know, when I tried to like say, oh, this is what the song is about, I realized like I don't know if I really touched on the fact that like even beneath what I thought it was about, which is like going out to the woods with friends and making music, I was listening back to it and I was like, oh yeah, this is actually also really about like the idea that I wanted to like leave my full-time job and make music, and like the idea of like, you know, choosing like a scary path or like choosing to make a big change and like coming to terms with that. But I think I realized like for a long time, I just was like, oh yeah, this song is about making music in the woods with friends. And then the other day I was listening back to it, I was like, oh yeah, like I completely forgot about like
I want to quit my job.
Where it came from. Yeah. Like this job is killing me. But.
Yeah. So do you still have a day job in digital marketing?
I work like freelance, but I left my full-time like corporate job last April, which was pretty scary.
Congrats. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, it was not a decision that I took lightly. There was a lot of thought and like anxiety that went into it, but I'm really glad that I did, and it's given me so much more freedom to like focus on making music the main thing, which is ultimately what I want to do.
My God. So. I think I'll wait till the next interview we do to talk about the impact of leaving your job, because you might need like at least a full couple years to process that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where I'll be in a year. So, yeah. Right.
So you're freelance. Is it like still like a 40-hour a week situation?
No, I would say now I'm putting more time into music than I've ever been able to in the past, which I'm really grateful for. And I know that it's something that, you know, I like deeply appreciate. Yeah, I'm kind of making music my full focus, like when I break up the time in my day, and then I'm plugging in kind of freelance gigs to kind of, you know, fill the cracks. So.
Right. Sounds like music is going to be full-time pretty soon.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yes, I am crossing my fingers.
Thanks.
I was listening to you on a podcast talking about looking for distraction, and I think this was like in reference to the time after Cullen died, looking for distractions. There's also a line in Reno, which is about long distance relationships, that says, not over it, just in the middle of something to keep me distracted, which is probably a different type of distraction. But what is your relationship with distraction?
I am working on it. I would say it is one of the things that I am actively working on, because I think I can have a tendency to, when I'm avoiding something or avoiding thinking about something, I can easily find a million ways to distract myself. Or when I'm even putting off something that I really care about doing, but it's scary to me to do it, I will find a million things to do. Some of which are probably sitting on my phone looking at stupid things I probably don't need to be looking at, or just organizing all of the junk drawers in the house and calling that progress.
That sounds good. Organizing a junk drawer? Come on.
Yeah, it's like they have a deadline, but this junk drawer needs to be attended to. Like,
Oh my gosh.
Today. So
When I was getting ready for this interview, I was excited to do it. I'm a huge fan of your music. We met and I enjoyed hanging out with you at Folk Alliance. And even like when it's like a fun task, like what is your deadline? Like something to do with music, So like my deadline was something to do with like something that I'm going to enjoy, but I'm like, I need to like order some rubber floor mats for my wife's car and like get the dog washed at the pet store. And then like finally I'm like, yeah, here we go.
Well, that means a lot to hear, because I was super excited to do this interview too. And I feel like this has been like the thing I've been most looking forward to for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Really excited.
Oh my gosh, let's keep going with more questions. The song Shadowboxing, the title track. This is cool. This is like your Paul McCartney Yesterday. The lyrics came to you almost fully formed. You didn't really know what it meant. Who's to say you know what it means now? But you said, every time I sing it, it's alive and can show me more. That's so cool. What does that mean? And like, what has the song shown you lately?
Yeah, I feel like this one is, it was such a weird experience, because a lot of the songs that I've written up until now were very personal and very specific. Even the lighter ones, like I knew where they were coming from. And when we were writing this one, it just kind of just like felt like, right, okay, these are the lyrics. It feels solid, like it feels done. But I have little pockets of meaning in it for me, but I kind of almost get the sense that I can't really describe it super well, but I almost get the sense that it's like a song for someone else, like that it's like a song that is supposed to be meaningful to someone other than me. And so I think it's kind of fun to like play it in a room and be like, ooh, maybe the person this song is for is like in here this night or something, like kind of just a little bit like that. And I think, I like to me, the bridge of that song, the lyrics are like, when all is said and done, we learn the hard way how to become. It's not much, but it's enough. A head full of dreams and a heart full of love. And I really like singing that lyric. I almost pulled it out because I was like, this is too cheesy. But like every time I sing it, I feel like, yeah, like that's really how it is. It's just like if you've got a heart in the good place and like you're like going for whatever you're trying to do in life, like with good energy, like we all find our way and like figure it out. So hopefully, so that's kind of the general sentiment when I sing it. But yeah, I'm always kind of like wondering when I'm looking out at the crowd of like, is this your song? Is this your song?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Well, it's also so cool to think that like songs and art are like living beings, or they're alive in the sense that like you might listen to a song when you're a teenager and think one way about it, and then you listen as an adult and it like changes meaning,
Yeah, definitely. I've thought about that with this specific song too. Like when I am hopefully 40 and singing it, or 50 and singing it, or 60 and singing it, like will it hold different meanings to me? Like
I'm sure.
I think about, yeah.
Let's meet right back here When you're 40,
Awesome.
you can tell
We'll
me
check
about
in.
it. Okay.
Awesome. It's a deal.
The song Tired of Trying, your emo is showing. I'm just going to say.
Yes. Thank God.
You were in a pop punk band, and try as I might, I could not find the name of this band, which is?
Secretly glad.
Oh.
It was called Cadence.
Oh, very nice.
We were they were called Motion Where You Go before I joined the band. And then after I joined the band, we kept some of the same songs. We changed the band's name to Cadence and then wrote new songs.
Cool.
But I think there's a lot of bands called Cadence. We came to realize.
Okay.
So
I mean, it's a good name all around.
thank you.
You were very emo in high school. I think I already said that. You said about being in Cadence, that was a very formative experience and made me want to make music for the rest of your life. So super important time. Also, you are a Paramore, Fall Out Boy, Jimmy Eat World, Taking Back Sunday kind of lady. Hannah,
I won't deny it.
tell me about your little emo heart.
Oh my gosh. I thought no one would ever ask. No, I definitely love that era of music. It was really fun. It was super formative for me. I feel like just like learning how to make music with friends in that time. And those songs, like even now, like when someone will put on like a early 2000s like emo playlist, I'm like, I can't help it. I'm like, yes. So it's a very like visceral reaction to like remembering like that time and like how fun it was making music and kind of rocking out.
Yeah, just being free, driving in your car with the CD player.
Yeah, burned CDs.
Burned
and all.
CDs that your cousin made you.
Yep.
Oh wait, didn't your godfather make you like a mix CD? Is that
he
true?
did?
Yeah.
That was more
emo.
like good memory though. Like that was more like folky kind of like Patty Griffin. That was how I found Patty Griffin, which was also amazing.
Yeah.
But he wasn't really dropping the emo tracks on that mixtape.
that was someone else. Your fiance, what is Eric's last name?
Kanata.
Eric Kanata. He's also a musician and tours often. Does he tour under his own name or with a band?
He tours with a band. He's in an alternative rock group called Young the Giant. And he also makes his own music too, and he does production. He's actually like working on his own solo album right now too, which is sounding awesome. But he hasn't like released it or like toured on his own yet. So mostly when he's touring, it's with Young the Giant.
Cool. What is it like to share a life with another musician? And can you talk about how you influence each other's art?
It's really, I really love it. I feel like it's cool to be able to share that with each other, especially because it's so often on my mind, like that to be with somebody who doesn't get annoyed by the fact that that's like sometimes 90% of like what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And that they also are kind of on that wavelength where he's also like obsessed with music. So sometimes we'll be like, you know what, we need to set a boundary and we need to like tonight at dinner, we're not going to talk about music. And like, you know, I think that's healthy, but it's also nice to be around somebody who loves what you love as much as you do.
Yeah, so. Yeah. You get the shorthand down, I'm sure.
Yeah.
For talking.
And yeah. And I feel like it's also been cool too. Like we do like feed off of each other in some ways. Like, you know, he'll teach me things and I'll show him artists that I like and vice versa. And, you know, he's a lot more proficient on like the guitar, like as his instrument. So it's nice to have like someone to, when I'm stuck with something, being like, hey, like I'm really trying to crack the code on this, you know, he can help. And then my marketing brain with my last job, if he's like working on something, he'll be like, what do you think of this? And, even the like design side of music is fun. We'll like bounce ideas off each other because we both like that idea of it too. Like if he's working on, putting together a vinyl design or something, or I'm working on putting together a vinyl, like we can give each other like thoughts and ideas and bounce around stuff.
Your visual stuff is like all so good. So you can really see your marketing chops coming out.
Thanks. I really like the like visual side of things sometimes. And I know it can seem kind of silly, but I think in a way it kind of like creates a little world around like the music. And that's what I like about it. Like just thinking about it from like a storytelling place, kind of like if I'm thinking about this record, like, and I'm closing my eyes, like, where do I imagine it? Like,
what's the
existing?
vibe?
Yeah. I studied like cinema and media culture in school. So like, I've always been super, like, I love making music videos because it's like a lot of times when I like write or sing a song, there's like a little movie in my head to the song already. And so like making music videos is kind of like a fun chance to like make those little movies real. But
when you say you studied cinema, do you mean the production of, or like the film studies, like history of film?
Yeah, more on like the conceptual side. Just kind of like, it was called cinema and media culture. So it's kind of like, how does culture and media play off of each other, and what, like kind of breaking down the meaning and the impact that they both have on each other. It's a little hard to explain, I guess. I've always found myself like, it's like a little bit. I found myself stumbling every time I try to just explain.
Is it like
my degree, but
Kim Kardashian on the cover of what was that magazine where she like broke the internet? Is it like all about that stuff? Hold on, let me look it up.
Kind of. It's kind of like anthropology meets like media studies meets like, I don't know, psychology, gender studies, like all those different things kind of smushed into one.
Okay, remember Kim Kardashian was on the cover of Paper magazine. Do you remember that? And
this is not triggering a memory.
Come on. She had
should I Google it?
Yeah. She had a champagne bottle and was popping the champagne bottle, and it was going over her head into a champagne coupe glass that was on her butt. And she's
my gosh. Actually, now that you're saying these words, something is coming to my mind. I'm also Googling it. But
I can't believe you didn't study this straight off.
I bet we did. And you know what? I bet we did. And I just like blocked it out of my brain.
It's not film, so I wonder if they would cover.
No, this would have definitely been in the realm of what would have been discussed, and I wouldn't doubt that it was discussed, and I'm just not remembering it. But yeah, now that you're saying it, I definitely remember this.
The timeline
image
might be messed up because when did you take that class?
It was a series of classes, but I would have been probably 2010.
Okay. It was before that. It was before that.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure
that it was probably discussed, but my memory is also just sometimes not great. So
that's all right. Well, at least we have Google to help us.
Yes.
Okay. One last question before we do the lightning round.
Lightning round.
What is the latest with the wedding planning?
We just got a date and a venue.
Oh,
so, yeah.
That is great. Great news.
Yeah. We've been looking for like a while, and it was tough because, Eric was traveling a lot last year, and we finally were able to like be in the same place long enough to like go on the hunt, and we found one that we were both super excited about. So yeah, October 25th. We're getting married.
A great day to get married.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I got married 2 years ago. Is that right?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks. And I wish I had like a day of planner. That's my only thing that I
We were gonna try to like do a lot of it ourselves, and then we realized that we weren't going to be able to do that. So I do feel glad that we have someone helping a little bit.
Great.
With that stuff. Because
well, listen, I offer my services if you need me to fly across the country and be your wedding planner. I will do it.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. All right, Hannah, let's do the lightning round. This is going to be very fun. Okay. What is your favorite Wisconsin treat?
Oh man, it's cliche, but it's true. The cheese curds. They're good for a reason.
The cheese curds, when you eat them, they make like a rubbery snapping. That's the good stuff. Yeah. Okay.
And also when they're deep fried.
Ooh.
And dipped in ranch.
Ooh. Now you're talking.
Perfect combo.
Describe your best emo outfit.
Oh, I had this. I was so stoked because I like saved up and got it. It was like this PacSun like zip up hoodie. And it was like black, but it had like lime green, like it looked like splatters all over it, but it wasn't real splatters. And it had the little thumb holes. I wore that thing
you mean
way
these?
too often. Yes! Wait, I need to get a thumb hole sweatshirt. I don't have any. Yes.
You don't have any?
Not anymore. I didn't really know that those, like, I guess
They're back.
I have stopped wearing the hoodies.
I have so many thumb hold shirts. It's like a very, like, for athletes. I'm an athlete, so.
Well, and it's also just cozy. Like, it's kind of like, I feel like it's the equivalent of, like, footy pajamas in the best way.
Yes. Okay. Which musical theater character will you next play?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'd ever go back to the musical theater stuff.
I can't ever go back to the theater.
After I played Orphan Molly, how could I top that?
Right.
You know?
That is the role of a lifetime.
I'm sure there's something that would be super fun, but I can't think of it right now.
All right. How about, let's see. How about Eurydice in Hadestown?
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, you'd be great at it. Let's get you on Broadway. Let me make a phone call.
Make a pivot.
Okay. What is your coffee order?
A latte with, well, you have to say whole milk because there's so many different types of milk now. But yeah, latte with regular milk.
Classic.
Simple.
Yeah. Yes, simple. What is one clothing item that you cannot live without?
Jeans.
Who are you taking on the hike?
On the hike? Which hike? The proverbial hike?
The hike that you're going on.
The hike that I'm going on?
Yeah. Who's going on the best hike with you?
Eric.
Yeah. I would also take Eric. Just kidding.
He's a good hiking buddy.
Okay, this is the last question.
Snacks.
Oh, very good hiking buddy with the snacks. Okay. Hannah, this is the last question, and I really want you to listen up because it's very important.
Okay.
Where should my next vacation be?
I'm going to say that your next vacation should be in Idyllwild,
okay.
California.
Don't have to twist my arm. I will be there.
Yes.
Hannah Connolly, thank you so much for talking to me. I really enjoyed it. You're awesome. Good luck with this new record.
You are too. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on. I love the podcast, so to be a guest is pretty awesome.
Sweet. This episode of Basic Folk was produced by Anthony Cabrera. Our music composed by Alex Stanton. Basic Folk is on the Bluegrass Situation Podcast Network. You can find all of our episodes there. You can find us on the SiriusXM app by searching for Basic Folk, basicfolk.com, or wherever you get podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, we suggest sharing it with a friend. Maybe that friend that you've known since preschool and were actually even in the 4-H club together, but you went to different schools growing up, so you would bond with each other over all of the weird music that you were into as teenagers. And so, like, maybe they were into emo music, but then since then have gotten more into singer-songwriters and would just love listening to Hannah Connolly's new album because it does have some emo-esque qualities to it. Send it to that friend. They will love it. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.